amazing, hopefully, race of VRL. And it is the Monday night racing tonight. As you can see, we've only got 11 currently in the roster for tonight's grid. We're looking at about 12 at the moment, just because a lot of people are going back to work now, which is great news, obviously, for the world, but it means we might have a few less drivers in the races for the coming weeks until people sort of sort out their new schedules once again. Before we get into tonight's race, I do want to mention up top to make sure you like and subscribe the channel. We are a new league that is now up and coming. We're getting a lot of really good interest from really fast races, as well as the guys who are already currently in it. It will be amazing if we can get you guys to really interact with us as much as possible. If you're interested in joining the league, make sure you leave a comment. Obviously message us if you can, get in contact with one of us. My name's Nat Craig. You can find me kind of everywhere in the same way. I will get you in touch with the guys in the admin if you want to get in touch that way. You can also check out a link below where I'm personally doing a Blue Cross Pause to Play challenge this month, where I've got to stream 1,897 minutes, hours, that's ridiculous, of gaming this April in support of the Blue Cross. And amazingly, the guys here at Valiant Racing are supporting me and sponsoring me in that. If you want to go to there, find out a bit more. We will be starting soon. We'll also be hosting a once in a Blue Moon Championship on Saturday the 10th, should say. So make sure you get in touch with me if you want to be part of that. But on to what happened last week. This is obviously round 5 in Netherlands here for Monday Night Racing. Last week we had FT in the Alfa Romeo finish out on top, with Joshy Boy coming out second in the Red Bull, and ZX Josh in third with who's actually a reserve. Jonathan Cox came in 4th place, which is kind of losing points on the guys around him. He's currently leading the championship at the moment. But Extremist, who is racing today, made a very good lead and actually overtook Walker to become finish currently 4th in the championship. Obviously there's a fair few races to go, but he finished 5th with Walker finishing 7th respectively. As we said there in the standings, you got Jonathan Cox, who is currently out in front on 80 points. FT in the Alfa Romeo behind him on 54. Joshy Boy, who of course came second last race, he is in 3rd on 41, but very close behind him you've got Extremist and Walker on 35 and 29 respectively. In terms of the constructors, we've got Mercedes, both Jonathan Cox and Super C kind of flying away there with 99 points. McLaren right behind, well, very far behind them with 57, but very close behind them is both Alfa Romeo and Alpha Tauri with 55 and 53 points. So it's getting quite close behind the leaders, as we kind of expect in the current era of F1. Mercedes are kind of flying off and everyone else is kind of fighting this ongoing battle, so it's really interesting, really great to see these guys getting some good racing. But on to tonight's race. Obviously we've got Zandvoort in front of us here in Netherlands. We've not yet raced here in modern era F1. The last time we raced here, the podium sitters were Nelson Piquet in 1st position, Alain Prost in 2nd, and the great Ayrton Senna in 3rd position. Sorry, no, not Nelson Piquet. Nelson Piquet got pole position. Niki Lauda got the win. This is his last win as well, as we see people starting to head out onto the track. So it's been that long. It'll be great to see F1 cars, especially with the likes of Max Verstappen, coming back to this amazing circuit with some incredible cambers you'll see when we're going round, as we have. So Master Lads is currently first out on track. We'll get ourselves set up. We want to see the fitted, we want to see the telemetry, of course we want to see what the lap's going, and we want to see the full track so we can see any yellow flags as we see Walker there go through. Yeah, it's one of those incredible tracks we see here. We're on board with Walker. It's not like what you'd say modern F1 tracks are like. There's a very high curbs, a lot of gravel, a lot of grass. The moment you go offline, you're really stuck if you're not careful. But more importantly, there's some real great elevation changes, not only throughout the track, but also on certain corners. That last corner is actually steeper than Indianapolis. It's that steep. It's quite impressive, I think, if you were to actually watch watch the Grand Prix live in person. This camber that we're about to see as we go through that last corner now with Walker is actually almost very steep and almost too steep to walk on. It's quite impressive. I'm doing my arm gestures and you can't actually see them. But as we start the first lap here with Walker, it'll be interesting to see. This first corner is very difficult. If you get on the curb there, you can really spin your tyres too much and actually end up spinning the car. But we go through here into the first sector. You go round this very fast right-hander and a very, very, very quick braking zone into the big hairpin there. As you see a yellow flag, that's just people getting out. I think Walker's done a very decent first lap, first sector here. We'll soon see as he crosses the line of the first sector exactly what time it is. Walker will give us a very good benchmark. As we see, it's obviously purple with 32nd, almost dead. Walker will give us a very good benchmark as to what the pole sitters will be really aiming for with this first run on soft compound tyres. I am just going to quickly pop off a second just to make sure that everything is A-OK in the Discord. Nothing's been reported, so that means I can report it to you guys. It doesn't look like anything is being said at this moment in time, which is obviously very good. We do have to keep an eye on it just in case incidents happen. Obviously people vent a lot on these Discord servers. As we see Walker about to cross the line now, let's see, it's 1:09.2. That's a very fast lap. Just to put it into perspective, obviously the last time we were around the track was 1985. The fastest lap at that point was a 1:16.5 by Alan Prost. So it's obviously improved a fair bit, these cars. I don't think anyone's surprised there. So we've got Master Lads who seems to be going out for a second lap. Super C's invalidated his time. Extremist is going round the final corner now. To see again, that elevation change is incredible. You can really get lost on that corner if you go way too far wide. It's difficult to bring it back in. It's important though to kind of mention, as Extremist there goes ahead of Broke Gorilla, the different compound tyres that we've already seen. So we've got Broke Gorilla and Callum Tyler both going onto the medium set of tyres. Now, the reason why I mention it is because this can be a one-stop race. If you're on soft compound tyres to start with, the most likely thing is you're going to head on to hards straight afterwards, but that's a very long stint on your hards. It's a 36-lap race. If you're on mediums, you're going on to hards again, but obviously the stints are a little bit less stretched out, I'd put it that way. Now, a one stop from a soft onto a medium is possible. The softs can roughly go around 16 laps before it gets into puncture territory. Obviously this is kind of on average, whereas the mediums can go about 21. So there is a way of pulling it out to about a 36 lap race, but those on both sets of tyres, your tyres are going to be screaming and you're probably going to lose a lot of time, probably more time than you'll be able to make up on those two sets of tyres. But of course this is without safety cars, without any rain or anything like that, so who knows exactly what might happen. Yeah, it's one of those trackers we see Extremist kind of bottle, I think, his lap in the end. He's going on Nim lap. Let's see if anyone's on a fastest lap at the moment. Super C seems to be. He's going around his final corner. He's dropping into the pits at this point. Jonathan Cox is currently out. Let's see, he's about to go on to his fastest lap. I think Zium is on his fastest. He's just about to go through the end of the first sector. I think Joshy Boy is also, but he's a bit further behind. So we'll watch Zium and then we'll go probably over to Jonathan Cox and FT. But one of the things I probably would say is whether we are gonna get any rain. And I've just seen a comment, actually, I think, from Jonathan Cox himself, who we're running on board with it a second ago, saying we're going to have some rain in the middle of the race. So that is going to really alter, I think, a lot of guys' strategy. They're going to probably think, okay, can I pull this soft tyre out onto the, you know, to get up to the rain period, or am I going to need to go on a medium and make it last even longer? So Zium is about to go over the line. He goes in for a 1:11, almost dead, which is 4th place at the moment. Obviously the likes of Jonathan Cox believe that he could probably pull out the soft tyre enough to make sure he gets to the rain period. Obviously the weather forecasting system is not always up to scratch on this game. I do hope it is something they improve for the next one. As we see Jonathan Cox go fastest, it's a shame we didn't catch that all the way through. That's Joshy Boy who's then spun. Let's see, FT is on his fastest lap. He's gone fastest in the first sector, so let's see how he does through this very tricky middle sector, very understeery corner that one is. Go out wide onto the right hand side. You don't want to be touching many of the corners on the left hand side of these left hand bends, just because they're a lot more steep than probably most other tracks. You know, you think of the likes of Paul Ricard where they're almost flat. You can run straight over them. If you go onto these curbs, you're likely going to spin your car. If you see FT get very close there, but he manages to keep it off. He goes around the final corner now. Let's see how he comes out in comparison to Jonathan Walker on that soft set of tyres. It's a 110, so it's only 4th, but it is on a medium set of tyres, so that is very important. Of course, even for the guys who probably aren't used to running in the top 10, which I think actually probably most of these guys are, they're going to have to be they're going to have to make sure that they're on the right set of tyres starting this race, because otherwise they could end up burning through too much of their tyres and having to pit way before they probably want to be when it starts to rain, to avoid that I suppose 20-second time penalty really, in terms of, as he's gone even faster through that first sector. This medium set of tyres can go for 2 laps, of course, on fastest. Yeah, you don't want to be running through your tyres, having to pit earlier, you're having to basically take a 20-second time penalty when no one else is. So FT is still on his fastest lap here. He's doing quite well, but he has got massive lads right in front of him there, so he's going to probably struggle a bit for downforce, as we see pretty much the same thing happen there and on the exit of that corner as well. So, currently out on their fastest laps with new tyres is Optics, but he's gone very wide there. Let's see. VRL Smithy, I am keeping an eye, obviously, on how FT does through. He's pitted, so that isn't too surprising. So let's see how Smithy does here as he goes around. Oh, as again, with these elevation changes, you're going to get very light in your front tyres if you're not careful. If you put so much steering angle into it, you're basically not going to be able to stop turning, because your front tyres are not going to be on the floor to correct themselves, which makes it very difficult to kind of measure these. As Super Steve's retired from the session, out on track as well. He seems to have gone off right before the very understeery left-hand hairpin of Sector 1. And again, that's an elevation change. Maybe he actually just couldn't turn in fast enough. We don't exactly know. We're going to stay on board with here with VRL Smithy, who's going fastest. He's going faster than his previous time currently. Let's see how he does going through this final sector. He is currently up, but I don't know if he's had a very good run through that middle sector, final section, I should say, that middle bit of the corner. He is slightly up on his previous time, but we're going to go up to Walker, who's currently on a fastest lap on his new set of tyres, on his new soft. So he believes, just like Jonathan Cox, that he can make the soft compound tyres last long enough to get it to the final bit, well, the start of the range, to say, final bit of the dry running. So Massalads now goes up to 3rd position. No one is still currently within that, I'd say, 2/10 of Jonathan Cox. Obviously, Walker's just outside of, oh wow, he's just outside of 3, but almost actually into these 4/10 sort of sector. Walker gets a bit out of shape on the exit of that corner, but manages to pull it back in. He has invalidated his lap there, which is a shame. So Massalads is currently on an in-lap. Optics is on his out-lap. Broke Gorillas, I believe, also on an in-lap. Let's see if he gets to an end of a sector soon. I don't know if he is. I think the next person on his out-lap, on his fastest lap, is Zium down in 9th position, which is the Ferrari. I think actually behind him he is 6/10 up. So Zium is faster than his previous time. It's quite important, really. The fact that obviously these guys, there is only 12 of them, so the chance of scoring points is high, but the chance of scoring good points is high as well. Now, yes, I'd probably expect that most of the people here currently in this lobby would be in the top 10 anyway, so maybe it wouldn't make too much of a difference, but you haven't got the guys at the back of the grid who may be causing issues, maybe causing safety cars, stuff like that. It could be a really interesting race just with these 12 on the grid at the moment. Saying that, Super Steve's binned it, so who knows. So Siam goes 4/10 faster, but it's not enough to really bring him anywhere into the battle. That 5th all the way down to 9th position is within 5/10 of, or within 4/10 of each other even. So any time you make up can get you further, but all it does for Zium is actually just get him up to that group. So let's go to Joshy Boy, who seems to be on a fast lap at the moment. Let's see how he does during his middle sector. He's 3/10 up, which would currently take him faster than FT in 6th position. Obviously we expect FT to go even faster as well, who is behind him at the moment. Extremis has just started his is just about to start actually gone his out lap, so he's going to start his flying lap soon. So we'll probably go to FT after Joshy Boy. So Joshy Boy comes around the final corner. He does go a bit faster. It's up to 5th as I expected. Let's see if FT is improving exactly the same way. He's currently 3/10 up, so this would be enough again to bring him inside, maybe even past Optics in the Red Bull. Let's see how where he comes out. He does. He's actually got past Master Lads as well. He's taken off a lot of time there. Master Lads comes across now. This is actually he's on a 3-lap hold soft tyres. You want to be getting a fresh set on, my boy, I'll be honest with you, because otherwise that is going to get very difficult starting the race on those if rain's coming. So that's people coming in the pits. Extremist is about to start his flying lap. I think he is the only person about to start his flying lap at the moment who we're interested in. Joshy Boy is out for another lap. I think he's probably going slower though, so we'll stay on board with Extremist for now, as everyone else is currently in the pits. I'm guessing Extremist will want to kind of do a fast lap, go back in, get a fresh set of tyres, and manage to come back out again within the 5 minutes that he's got left. Obviously, as it's 5 minutes, as it's only a minute lap, you should be able to do that really, as long as you get your in-lap and out-lap kind of pretty snappy. So, Extremist is he's on his flying lap at the moment. Let's see how he does going through the first sector. He's looking really to try and make some time up. He's made 1/10 up at this moment in time on his previous best, which obviously bring him ahead of Broke Gorilla at this moment in time, who's on his out-lap himself. Joshy Boy's gone out again for another lap. These people are going to be really struggling. Master Lance is still out for another lap. They're going to be struggling on those soft tyres. I'm unsure whether they're going to be starting on wet tyres or whether they're going to be just on wet tyres at some point in the race. I'll have to double check what Jonathan Cox is saying. As we see Extremist there just get a bit heavy on the exit and break his track limits. It's a shame. It probably was a bit of a better lap for him. We'll go down, I think, to Joshy Boy, who's still out on a fast lap. No, we'll go to Callum Tyler. Callum Tyler in the other McLaren, who is going a second and a half faster, but you know, his best time is a 1:12, so it's a 4 seconds slower than Jonathan Cox at the moment in time. He has apparently gone fastest in the middle sector, which is very good. So let's see how he manages to do through his final sector. He does go very wide there. He doesn't break track limits, but I think he loses almost like 5/10 of a second there. But I think he's still going to be faster than his previous best. He does go up to 9th position, so he joins that battle of the 1:10s, 1:9s, 9:9s up until 5th position. So that's going to be quite good for him. We're going to probably go up to Broke Gorilla now, who's on his fastest lap on a new set of soft tyres. He's currently 3/10 up from his current best, so that's not a good standing really. He's going to be wanting, I think, to save his tyres a little bit on this lap and hope that he can get back out go again afterwards and not be breaking his tyres in too much. But he does seem to be pushing a little bit more here. I'm just looking on the map to see who's kind of next really that we want to be following. I think Zium's probably the next person we want to be really checking in on, as we see Broke Gorilla does abort and go into the pit. So Zium now goes out. He's about to go on his fastest lap. He's currently in 10th position. He is just within, I'd say, touching distance of maybe 7th, 8th. Obviously, if he has an amazing lap, he's going in for the 5ths, hopefully. It'll be interesting to see. These guys in the midfield is a really very close battle. I hope we'll have that in the race as well, as we see a McLaren about to start their flying lap as well. I think that is Extremist. It is about to go on his flying lap, so we'll see how Zium does going through this first sector. If it's any better than his previous, it's not, but only just. That is quite good still. You still want, if you manage to nail that first sector, you can make up the time in the second and third, especially with this twisty, tight, I'd say very understeery middle sector. You're setting up your wings for about 4-7 because you've got a lot of very good straights, but you want to nail these exits into the DRS zones because that's where you're going to be able to be making all the overtakes. Actually, this is Extremist right in front of him there, who nicely gets out of the way. He's going to be wanting to start his lap soon, so we'll go probably up to Optics or Walker next. Let's see who's out on the track furthest. It is Walker, so we'll be going to him next. So Zium is about to set his fastest, probably his fastest of the session. It's a 1:05, but it's only just 1:10, should say. It's only just faster than his previous time. Let's see Optics. He's going faster through the first sector. We'll go up to Walker, who I think is just ahead of him. It is Walker here. Whether he's able to challenge Jonathan Cox, who's currently on his outlap, we'll go to Walker, Optics, and then Extremist. I think he's probably the next best person to go to. So we see Walker's gone fastest through the middle sector. That's very good. He's needing to make up 3/10 to manage to get ahead of Jonathan Cox. Is he going to manage to do it? He doesn't want to go too wide in his exit, otherwise with brake track limits. He doesn't. Still gets a bit of curb, which is kind of what you want, maximising track limits, as we saw last week in Bahrain. So Walker now crosses a line. It's a 1:90. It's not fast enough to overtake Jonathan Cox, but it is fast enough to improve his time. Let's see, is Optics going to improve? He doesn't. He's going a second fast, but I think he's probably going to go on to another fastest lap straight after that. So Extremist goes fastest through the middle sector. I'm not sure if that's a timing glitch, but we'll soon wait to find out. I think that is Siam still in front of him, who's going on his he's, I think, on his in lap from what I can imagine, but it's not. He's going again for another lap. So Extremist now goes for his fastest. It's a 1:09. That gets him up to 5th position for this moment in time. We will now wait and see where everyone else falls out. So Joshy Boy's just going through the middle sector. Who's that McLaren? That's going to be Callum Tyler on his out lap. The Mercedes, I think, of Jonathan Cox is the person. Yes, he's gone fastest through the first sector. This could be the pole lap. Let's catch him through this third sector now as he goes through the final corner, gets a little bit on the corner on the inside, gets very much on the corner on the outside, and that does break track limits a bit too much. And of course that does mean that he has left the session. Walker has retired from the session. That's on the outside in the middle of sector 2. So let's go down. So it looks like at the moment Walker is the Jonathan Cox is the fastest. FT is on an in lap. Extremist is on an in lap. We see Master Lads there finish. Joshy Boy goes up into 4th position. Let's see, Broke Gorilla's currently on an in lap. Callum, I think he's on his fastest, but I'm unsure if it's any faster than his previous lap. We will wait and see. I think it's just him and Siam who are currently on their faster, who might be on their faster laps. So we'll wait and see how he does through the first middle sector. He's gone 10th up. So let's see, can Callum Tyler get further ahead? He's got to take off 3/10 to be able to get ahead of Broke Gorilla. Let's see as he passes the Ferrari on the inside. He goes on the outside, doesn't break track limits unlike Jonathan Cox. He goes around the final corner. He's accelerated as hard as he possibly can, but guess he's willing the car forward. He does get a 1:09. That's an impressive time really in the third sector. He does get ahead of his teammate, which means you've got a McLaren 6-7. Very similar to what we had in Bahrain. So I think that is the final grid. Jonathan Cox does get pole with that time that he set very early in the in the qualifying session, with Walker right behind him. FT, everyone's starting on soft compound tyres, I believe. Let's just see. Best, yes, everyone's setting on soft compound tyres. Master Lads starting on a 4-lap old soft tyres. That is a lot of wear to be getting through a race that you may be having to really pull your softs as far as possible. We are yet to see exactly how the rain will affect things. There'll be dry and wet patches through the race, so who knows. So Super C's the real unknown, I think, in that. We're waiting to see where he can filter into that pack. Of course, you've got Jonathan Cox out in front, Walker right behind him, and FT. Those guys are stupidly fast. I can't believe it. Of course, very close behind them, you have Joshy Boy. And of course, I think from there, everyone is a very, very similar pace with Joshy Boy, Master Lads, Callum Tyler, Extremist, and I've missed the rest of them. So I think it was then Optics behind Extremist. So that battle's going to be good. I know those two are very good friends, so it'll be quite interesting to see how they battle it out on track. Obviously, no hard feelings to anyone. It's all a game at the end of the day. It does look, I don't know if that's wet or if that's just damp. I'm unsure what tyre these guys are going to be starting on. If it's a wet race from the start, we could have a few accidents into the first corner. Of course, one of the things always to mention and notice really is exactly how difficult that first corner can be if you're on a wet compounded tyre. Because if you're braking probably later than you probably should be, earlier than you realise you will be, and of course you've got loads of people in front of you, the only way you can stop if you broke too late is by going into someone. And I know that sounds very, that's what happens in all F1, but the thing is, with wet compound tyres, if you've not raced in the wet here, you need to brake almost like 10 metres before you were before. So if you've got a racing line on, this isn't a wet start, but I think it almost is. So it'll be interesting to see how that works when rain comes. So we're going to go on to the tyres. You see Smithy and Super C, the only two people who could start on medium compound tyres, did. That's an interesting one. Whether that was going to pay off for them, I'm unsure with rain coming in the race. As we've said, that we're not exactly sure when it's going to be coming, and we know that the radar on the game is not exactly the most accurate. So, Jonathan Cox out on front, we've got Walker then behind him in the Alfa Romeo, FT in the Alfa Romeo behind him, they're doing quite well. You've got Red Bull of Joshy Boy, then the Alfa Tauri of Master Lads, the two McLarens of Callum Tyler and Extremist, Optics in the Red Bull behind him, then the two Ferraris of Broke Gorilla and Siam, the Williams of Smithy, and the Mercedes of Super Series. He's getting a bit out of sorts there on the exit of that corner. So we'll try and go into broadcast. I think I'm pressing all the wrong buttons. There we go. That's what we wanted. That's what we wanted. No, we were in the right thing. Flipping heck. Right, anyway, we're about to get started. The guys are warming up the tyres as always. They're trying to make sure it's in the right temperature to get off the starting line, to make sure that they're not going into each other on the braking in the first braking zone. Yeah, let's wait and see. I'm unsure. I think obviously the start of the race is always very spicy between the likes of Jonathan Cox, Walker and FT. Joshy Boy is usually in there with the fight as we saw last time round. Whether Jonathan Cox will come out on top this time, I'm unsure. The penalties last time round I think made a big impact as always. We will wait and see. I don't know if corner cutting's a big issue here, but I know, especially as we saw in that qualifying session, that track limits on the exits of corners, when you're pushing to get out of a corner, especially when you're then in the wet, you're trying to avoid the inside of the corner quite a lot. You can sometimes get on the outside a bit too much and break track limits, so maybe we'll get a fair few penalties once more. So we've got 1 light, 2 lights, 3, 4, 5. Let's see how we get off the line. Jonathan Cox gets off fairly nicely with Walker then right behind him, but Walker has lost the place to his teammate FT. He's going round the outside there. That's a nice little move as Joshy Boy then comes up the outsiders once again. He's now got the inside line into the next corner, but Walker keeps the traction quite well. He's managing to keep it well. We have the McLaren of Callum Tyler has now got ahead of the Ferraris, but there's some battling out in the back. Let's go over to, I think it's Optics and the Ferrari behind him of Siam. It is Master Lads is then behind him. Super C still at the back. We've had a spinner, I think, of Smithy, who was in 11th place anyway, but no one is currently out of the Grand Prix. We're going to stay on board at the moment with Optics as we wait for the timing screens to sort themselves out, and I think that is now correct. So Broke Gorilla has gotten up from 9th position into 6th. That must have been a very decent dive bomb going into that first corner. So we're now going to see if Optics can do very similar things on the extremist. He has to avoid him. I think he just outbrakes himself there. That means Optics loses a fair few places. He only loses one actually to Master Lads. Oh no, he loses one to Super C as well. So the extremist is keeping a hold of Broke Gorilla out in front. Jonathan Cox has kind of got away, and that's, as I said earlier, you can be doing a two-stop. I think that'll be a very interesting one, but I think really with rain on its way, the likelihood is any strategies that we did see, as we see Broke Gorilla going down the inside, I think that's a very difficult line, and he just gets way out of shape and just crashes into the border there. I'm unsure what happened there. It was a difficult line to that corner, really. You don't really want to be going anywhere near that inside curb. You will be spinning, as we see Siam looks up on the inside of is Optics still in 10th? I'm unsure what's exactly happening here. Right, we'll wait for the timing screen to sort itself out. Optics is looking up the inside of Super C into this corner. I think he's going to back out, but now he's not. There you go, Super C joins back right at the edge of a corner. You don't want to be doing that. So Siam's currently up into 8th position. You've got Master Lads, the extremists, and Callum Tyler really challenging each other there. I think what happened there with Broke Gorilla, as much as it's been an amazing start, he got on the inside line there to the first corner, and that's just going to be really difficult. If you touch that, you're probably going to spin and not have a very good time. And as you saw there, he then got out of shape, had to go over to the left-hand side because otherwise he was going into the barrier on the right hand side, then touched the McLaren, which he obviously didn't see coming up his outside, who had much better traction, just caught the end of his wheel and went into the barrier. So Extremist now has got a very good run on Callum Tyler, he's going to probably hope to go on the inside and get better traction. He does, but doesn't quite get the traction he needs, so that puts Extremist up ahead of his teammate into first position. This battle here for the first, for 5th, 6th and 7th is going to get very tasty, so we see Callum Tyler get very out of sorts there. That's going to give Masalads here a very good chance into this middle sector, but it's going to be very difficult to pass, I think, there. He's had to back out as he did. Callum Tyler gets a bit wide there on that corner. He manages to make do with the speed he does, which gives Masalads again the opportunity, but I don't think Masalads is liking any of the passing opportunities he's got here. So we see here's Optics and Siam are battling out just behind these guys. They're going to be joining this fight very soon, as we see Masalads has once again got a very good run on Callum Tyler. Is he going to go for a bit of a dive bomb into this corner? He decides against it. It's probably a good decision. So Optics and as we see Masalads get a very out of shape there. We're going to go on board with Optics. He's going to have a much better run. Let's go up to Masalads here. He's going to obviously try and defend the corner, but he just gets on the inside. He really kind of... It's a shame. So we've got a virtual safety car there. I'm unsure how to really... Oh, that's a very big braking zone there. Obviously, I'm unsure what happened. So Optics dives into the pits. It is starting to rain. Right, on that Masalads issue there, Optics was on the outside. He had much better traction. Masalads obviously tried to brake a lot later, but that meant that he got on the inside of the curb. Now, as I've said with Zandvoort, these curbs are a lot higher, which means if you get onto them, you're just going to be risking a spin quite badly. I think these guys are on pit now onto the intermediate tyres, I think, soon. Yeah, you're risking a spin quite badly, and if you then have someone also on your outside, you're going to connect to them if you're trying not to spin. I think really it's a difficult situation there. Whether Masalads should have backed out, of course he had the complete right to fight for that position there, as we see Joshy Boy getting DRS on Walker here. This could be the battle for the podium. He goes very late on the brakes there and almost collides with Walker. He does very well to avoid getting into the back of him there. That was risky, I think, really, from Joshy Boy. He does go very late on the brakes. Right, I think these guys are going to be struggling for traction now. We don't see the race leaders pit onto intermediate tyres, so maybe they don't think it's the best thing to be doing. Broke Gorilla and Optics have both pitted onto hard compound tyres, so maybe they think they can last through it. Or maybe they don't want to waste a set of soft compound tyres they might want later on in the race. As we see Walker there just absolutely just dive it into the wall. I'm unsure exactly what happened there. That might be a full-blown safety car. He may have just not been able to... It's a virtual safety car. That's quite surprising. Again, I think it was the curbs. I think really you're trying to put your foot down on a curb and you just lose all traction in your tyres, all grip, and all you're going to do is go forward in whatever direction you're heading. And sadly for Walker, it seemed to be straight into a wall. So now they're going to manage their pace. We see a comment has popped up, so I'll wait and see what that comment is. Yeah, I'm unsure what exactly happened there. That was quite the extreme. Yeah, the extreme. Oh, as you see Smithy go onto the intermediate tyres, right? That's took my attention. The extreme case of, yeah, this is what happens if you get on the curb, right? So, as we see 5 drive-through penalties for 3 cars, including our race leader Jonathan Cox for speeding under the virtual safety car. That is a shame. So, Jonathan Cox, I think he's probably going to pit for intermediate tyres here. Let's see, or he's going for his drive-through actually. So FT's going on to his intermediate tyres. Jonathan Cox, I think, could be very much risking not being on the correct tyres for this, as Siam gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So let's see who is Siam got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and it was his drive-through penalty as well. The guys who drive-through penalties are really going to be hating this, because I think it is definitely time to watch. Yeah, so Jonathan Cox is on soft compound tyres. He's got no traction. He's really struggling for grip on these soft compound tyres in this weather. They've just kind of buggered it, really, is the fact that they've got a drive-through penalty. Of course, they have to serve that within 2 laps, so they have to serve that before they can pit. So they then have to go around again on soft compound tyres on a wet track, losing even more time. It's just compounding it, and I don't see how Jonathan Cox, with FT being right behind him already, I don't see how Jonathan Cox can really Recovering from this is Smithy, who seems to make the right call going on to intermediate tyres straight away, as we see a full-blown safety car. So Super Steve and Smithy have both DNF'd now, so we've now only got 8 runners left. So full-blown safety car, that's going to give Callum Tyler and Jonathan Cox a bit of hope, because otherwise they'd have fallen 20-second backs from their rivals. Now they'll be right behind them, and only what would be about 7 places probably behind them. So let's see where they filter out. This is a bit of a chaotic race with the rain very quickly coming down. I'm waiting to see what these comments are, because it said there's comments and I can't see them, which is always good. So sorry everyone who's commented, I'm waiting to currently see what it says. Do I just have live chat? No, still can't see it, sorry everyone. Yeah, this is a chaotic race. Jonathan Cox has come out currently in 4th position. That's good news for him, that everyone else was further enough behind, even with the safety car, that he can still come out fairly competitively close to the leaders. Obviously the safety car is going to bunch them up. This is a chaotic race. It's brilliant, and I can't wait to see whether we're going to have any more twists and turns with the dynamic weather. So I think really the focus here for FT after the safety car restart is just going to be getting as far ahead, building a big enough gap for both Joshy Boy and the Extremist, so that Jonathan Cox is not right on his tail from the start. Of course, Extremist is going to be fighting tooth and nail for that podium. He's going to want to really try and get that podium to solidify maybe his place in 3rd position. But of course, you've got the likes of FT, Joshy Boy and Jonathan Cox, who are all the top 3 in the standings as well. So they're going to be really wanting to gain points on each other as well. Of course, this is a really good position for FT to be in, because not only does he currently is probably the only person who can probably catch Jonathan Cox. I think Joshy Boy is actually not too far behind him actually. So they could all catch Jonathan Cox if Jonathan Cox keeps having bad races like this. Of course, last race it was a very similar situation where FT ended up winning the race with Joshy Boy in 2nd and Jonathan Cox coming. Am I wrong in saying that? I think I may be wrong in saying that. Let me just double check my notes. Yes, ZX Josh actually came 3rd. So another instance where yes, so Jonathan Cox came 4th. So if it was to finish like it is, it's pretty much a similar situation for FT and Joshy Boy that we had in the last race in Japan. Whether it's going to stay like that, with the fact that we've got a safety car, with the fact that now Jonathan Cox is only 3/10 obviously behind Extremist, and they're all bunched up, I'm unsure. Jonathan Cox is on 1 lap younger tyres, and it's important now to realise that these intermediate tyres, even if it does stay wet for the rest of the race, for the rest of the I can't say that, the rest of the race, there we go, they can't last until the end. So they can roughly reach about 18 laps. So you're looking, if it still stays wet, you're looking at pitting probably around lap 26 with 10 laps left after that. Of course, if it's wet, you want to be going on to another set of intermediate tyres, and they'll last quite nicely. Of course, you want to be doing the pit before everyone else, because the difference between new wets and old wets is about 2 seconds. It's not like a set of old and new soft tyres. You're going to be gaining a lot on new new intermediate compound tyres. As we broke Gorilla's now left the session, so there's now only 7 runners in the race. He's gone out in the middle of sector middle of sector 1. So that might, oh no, I was going to say it might bring the safety car out again, but actually the safety car has gone in this lap. But of course, if it's dry for those last 10 laps, you want to be going on to soft tyres, and we could see a very quick shootout for the podium position. So FT is going to be leading the way. We're going to go probably down to the Extremists, maybe even Jonathan Cox, to see how the top 3 do. These guys are going to really be pushing it around this lap. I've seen another, I commentated on another race around this track where they were doing this, and they were doing this all the way up until the line. FT does look like he's almost bolted. He hasn't just yet. Extremist has. There we go. They've now all bolted. That's been a bit of a poor start for Jonathan Cox. He wanted to, but there we go. Extremist goes right into the barrier. He just spins his wheels up too much and just goes right into the barrier. He's just going to be losing more and more time there. Optics goes up the inside of Siam, but can he make it stick? He just about gets it. He's got the traction there, but of course the two of them are going to be fighting. They do back out of it to make sure that neither of them go into the wall. That's good. Extremist is really struggling. I think he's going to pit, really. For that front wing change, we see there's still only 7 runners. Optics is going up the inside of Extremist. I don't think there's any damage for them. So let's have a look out front. So you got Jonathan Cox now back on the podium. He's a second behind Joshy Boy, who's only 7/10 behind FT. Of course, there's no DRS in this with wet racing, so it doesn't actually matter. Extremist is still into 4th position, but I think he's really going to be struggling with no front wing. Practically, he is. But I don't think it's enough for the likes behind him. This might be a bit of a tactic, actually. I think Extremist is going, you know what, I may be on half a front wing, but these guys behind me are on wet tyres that just haven't got the speed because they've got more car to them. So maybe that's the plan to Extremist. I don't know if it's a good one because he's getting in the way of his teammate here. Callum Tyler's really pushing it on the outside. I would not be surprised if Extremist pits here, but he practically just getting in the way. No one can pass him just purely because of the fact that these cars are too wide. Let's see, Extremist doesn't pit. This could be going on for longer, but right now we've got Optics right behind Callum Tyler. I'm unsure if that's a tactic from his long-time friend there of Extremist, or whether he's just trying to get the best position possible. He does battle him to the inside, but it does look like he's almost just buggered up his teammate there, who's now down in 7th position, not able to get past him for the longest time. Let's see now how long Optics can get before Extremist dive bombs him, basically. This could be a very interesting battle, but we are also keeping our eye on the battle at the front. This has gone now between 6/10. I think really Extremist is just going to keep going now. Optics is just going to keep going and getting more and more time on Siam, not Extremist. So let's have a look. Joshy Boy is still 5/10 behind FT, but now joining this fight within a second is Jonathan Cox. So this fight for the top 3 could get very interesting. We're keeping our eye down. I was going to say down south then, down at the bottom of the table at the moment, to see whether Siam can get anywhere close to Extremist. It does look like they have here, but they haven't got enough space there. Let's see. So we've got the 3 leading cars all within all within a second of each other. Joshy Boy getting a very nice line through there. Jonathan Cox going a bit wide, having a bit of oversteer as we see him get and Callum Tyler. So Extremist is now pitted. That's good news. So Jonathan Cox here goes up the inside. That's a very wide line from Joshy Boy. Oh, they just seem to have an issue. I think Jonathan Cox thought better of trying to get on the inside of a swerving car there. Knew that he'd have his front wing taken off if he wasn't careful. So let's see, can he now overtake going through a very fast section? It does look like Joshy Boy's struggling a little bit on the wet compound tyres. Of course, they've all set up their cars to go fast enough in the soft, but on the softs, in the dry. But whether or not they can get the car turning, I think, is the question on these intermediates. So he's now Joshy Boy's fallen outside of a second. Oh, he's now back inside of a second. He was outside of a second of FT. Of course, you don't have DRS, so it doesn't actually make much of a difference. The only difference, really, I suppose, is in downforce. Joshy Boy's under pressure from Jonathan Cox in front of him. We'll probably go down to Callum, I think, next, who's gaining a fair bit on Siam. He's going to be wanting to try and get back up to 5th position, as we see Jonathan Cox go very wide there. He's got the slipstream, but I wouldn't say he's got much else on Joshy Boy, really. Unless Joshy Boy has a very big inside incident there. He could have very easily spun there. He manages to keep his feet on the floor. I was going to say wheels on the floor. So we see Joshy Boy getting another great line out of there, blocking the corner. The positioning of these cars is vitally important when you're driving against some very fast drivers, because if they see a gap, they will go for it, and go for it they will, because of course the difference, I'd say, between real F1 and virtual F1, other than the fact that you've got to be infinitely more fit and skilled, I'd say, to drive normal F1. Virtual F1 has no danger in it, so if you break your front wing, you break your front wing. It's one loss down, but you're not going to have to pay, what is it, £150,000 for a new front wing, or your team won't, should say. So there's not really in danger. Of course, you've got no danger of getting hurt. So if there's a gap there and you go, oh, this might break my front wing, you're probably going to go for it anyway, because it's kind of worth it if it pays off. So these top guys are kind of staying where they are at the moment. Let's go check in with the guys behind. Optics has managed to pull out a 5-second gap on Siam, who obviously got caught up a little bit behind Extremist. Extremist is now 18 seconds back. It'll be funny to see if he can catch up to his teammate, who's now in 6th position, who I think really, with the incident with Extremist, came out worse almost. His teammate came out worse. He had to back off there and not get on the power to make sure he didn't run into the wall there. Yeah, his teammate almost came out worse there, just down to the fact that he was being held up as much, which means he ended up getting overtaken by Optics, got out of sorts a bit with Siam, which meant he ended up falling a fair bit behind. And when Siam was managing to overtake Extremist, trying to overtake Extremist, he still wasn't gaining much time. I'm unsure whether he's got any damage and is trying the same thing as Extremist was trying at first. But it might be... I'm waiting to see if there's any news from him. I'm looking at the... yeah, I'm just keeping my eye on the Discord as usual to see if anything is currently happening. I don't think it is. But as we see Joshy Boy and Jonathan Cox getting very close to each other there, this gap has once again closed up. It's as if Joshy Boy just doesn't want the pressure of Jonathan Cox right behind him, and if he doesn't have that, he can catch back up to FT. If he's having to position his car to defend, he loses a fair bit of time, which is, you know, it makes sense. I don't know why I sound surprised at that. So Jonathan Cox, he's still 6/10 off. We're going to go up to Joshy Boy, I think, and see how he's doing. He is getting on the power, I'd say, a lot later than Jonathan Cox, just because he looks like he's struggling a little bit for traction, maybe even downforce, right behind FT there out in front. FT, meanwhile, is managing to keep it quite stable out in front. These three, I'd say, are fairly equal on pace at this point in time, as we see Jonathan Cox is getting quite close behind. There's no overtaking zones, though. I think this is the difficulty here. Unless you've got a very good exit on someone, or whether you've got, you know, maybe someone messes up a little bit, as FT seems to go very slow through that corner. Maybe he's ghosted here. So, oh, as Joshy Boy gets very wide there, Jonathan Cox decides not to join in, so that has now made this 3-horse race into a 2-horse race. FT is actually clocked out. That is a real shame. So let's see if Jonathan Cox, now with Joshy Boy getting completely clean air, I'm surprised, I have to be honest. As I was talking there, when all you have to do is make one mistake and someone could be right on your tail. I think what happened there is FT obviously got in the way, I think, of Joshy Boy's proper line of sight. He got on the inside line a bit too much and touched the curb. Touching the curb, as I've said previously, even when you're in the dry, you can just lose the car quite easily. He manages to save it. I think maybe Jonathan Cox either goes into the back of him because of that spin, or I think more likely he just thinks, you know what, I don't want anything near that. I don't want to break my front wing because this is now a good chance of winning the race, and just decides to back out a little bit. As we see, FT's now dropped 4 seconds down. That's really not good for his championship battle. As we see, Optics is now gaining on him quite quickly. So that means Optics will now be on to the podium. So really, that's a brilliant result for Red Bull, who are obviously fighting with AlphaTauri, who've got no runners currently in this Grand Prix. As we see now, FT has joined. Is he going to come back now? We've got overtake on. He's still ghosted. FT has joined the session once again. He's not going to be happy. He's lost a lot of time to the front runners, who he was quite easily keeping in front of. Optics is now 2.5 seconds in front of him. It'll be interesting to see if that comes down, if he has rejoined, but it has gone up to 3 seconds now. So Jonathan Cox is just kind of trying his best, as he almost loses it there. He manages to save it quite well. Trying his best to stay within a second. He's lost a second on that lap to Joshy Boy. He just can't keep these intermediate tyres up to scratch. I'm unsure whether they're struggling with tyre temperatures. I know that's a very big issue when it comes to career mode. So Callum Tyler's still 3 seconds behind Siam. and Extremist, I think, is about 18, 19 seconds behind his teammate. So the only battle really, the only closer battle really, is between Jonathan Cox and Joshy Boy. So we might go on board with Josh to see how he's driving in free air. And I think one of the things I do want to say for anyone watching who may not know, who may not know exactly what racing is like, we may not know whether they want to do league racing. One of the things I will say is, of course, you have always got a wide variety in this league of whether you're good or bad. Obviously, we race from Monday to Saturday, always at 8 PM, so it's always after work in the UK. It's always make sure it accommodates you. There's usually spots in every league, whether you want to race on a Wednesday or on a Monday or anything. It is streamed right here. We've got commentators throughout the week, which is great. But I think really the highlight for me, and obviously the reason why I mentioned this, especially with the likes of Jonathan Cox and Joshy Boy, who were doing very good driving here with a lot of very clean wheel movements, is because of the fact that they have driver academies. And I think if I hadn't made the transition into commentating, that would have been incredible for me. To be able to go and learn from these guys and discuss it. They're really approachable, really happy to talk to anyone. They want to make sure they spread it, because at the end of the day, these guys don't want a 3-horse race out front, just like we see Hamilton doesn't want to be out there on his own and Bottas, you know, sort of behind him. He wants Max Verstappen really challenging. These guys want a challenge. They're all racers for a reason. So if you do want to join up the league, or if you do want to be involved in any way, even if it's just to sort of be in the Discord server and just sort of be there and be able to take in what these guys are doing, learn from them, and then maybe at one point when your confidence is at a point where you go, you know what, I can really challenge in this league, or I can really test my mettle in a league scenario, then you can say, okay, I'll join a league at that point. But we've got a great community, a lot of lads and lasses who are, you know, having a laugh most days, memes most days, taking the mick out of each other. It's very laid back, it's really nice. And even when incidents happen on track, even when you sort of call someone stupid, or even yourself stupid, usually it kind of mops itself up within a couple of days, and you can, you know, come back to it, and sort of there's no hard feelings, because we know what racing is like. So as we see Jonathan Cox there lose another second on Joshy Boy, it's now kind of a waiting game until we see the pit stops happen and seeing exactly whether this track is going to dry. As I said, it's one of those things that if you're on new sort of intermediate tyres, we see Joshy Boy's locking up a little bit, he's struggling a little bit, I think, for temperatures on these tyres. If you're on new intermediate tyres, you see there, grip and traction just gone, you're gaining almost a couple of seconds a lap. Of course, yes, you end up paying it in the start half of the race, but of course, if it's going to be dry by the end of the race, but you still need to go onto a new set of intermediate tyres, go a bit earlier, gain that time, and then pit when your tyres start dropping off again. But yeah, I mentioned up top that we'll be doing a one-off championship on the 10th. That's just before the usual Saturday night racing league. I'll be hosting that for the Blue Cross charity. As I said, the link's in the description for that. If you want to join up, comment or say, you know, yeah, I want to join up, or you can alternatively also follow. It's going to be great. It's going to be 2 championship races, 25% in both races. I'll add you to the Discord server. We'll get it started in part so we can, you know, got some really good fast drivers taking part. And it's all for charity, which is good. And as I said, the great guys here at Valiant are sponsoring me for that. They're also sponsoring an award, a special award for who knows what at this point. So you've got to be in it to win it, as they say, for the lottery. So if you do want to join up for that, make sure to drop us a comment or just let us know, and we'll add you to the Discord and we'll get you sorted for that. But we'll go back to the racing now as we see Joshy Boy coming around the final sector now. I'm unsure whether we're going to see him pit here, or whether, because he's really been struggling, but Jonathan Cox is not doing much better. He's not gaining any time, so maybe he's just biding his time. Maybe he's going, you know what, I may be struggling here, but I'm not, you know, my challengers behind me are also struggling. So let's go down to someone who may not be on 7-lap-old intermediate tyres instead, the Extremist. So he was 18 seconds behind after his pit stop. He's properly going for it. He's only 13 seconds behind his teammate now. I think he's probably thinking in the next 26 laps, no, next 16 laps, I can't add. Next 16 laps, I might be able to gain some proper inroads on my teammate. Maybe even get 6th position. So we'll stay on board with him. He's got a lot of ERS left as well. Let's see how everyone else is doing. You've got Callum Tyler on 56. Siam is trying to stay ahead of Callum Tyler, who's gained a lot of time now on Siam, who must be struggling on these intermediate tyres. FT, who's on 83. Optics is on 68, who's now 11 seconds of FT. I'm unsure if FT is still sort of like not AFK, I think they call it, don't they? So, we'll go on board with Callum Tyler, who seems to be chasing down Siam. I'm unsure if Siam's really struggling here or if Callum Tyler's just doing very well. But of course, Extremist is slowly but surely gaining on them as well. So we'll see here as he goes through this very understeer. You get a very outward line there. You can see that there's a rubbered in and drier inside line there. Maybe they're trying to not overheat their tyres and so not take the usual line. That's a very deep line there from Callum Tyler. I think he just outbraked himself there. We of course don't know what these guys are running in terms of their what words am I saying? In terms of their assists. They might, you know, this league you can kind of run a lot as we get very much out of sorts there, and loses a 10th just through that corner alone is going to hurt him all the way down this straight. Yeah, in this league you can kind of do most of your assists apart from the braking and apart from I think braking might be it. Is braking it? Yeah, I think braking's kind of it. A lot of people run medium traction control. I know that Optics is kind of still doing, you know, the anti-lock brakes and stuff like that. Is he doing that? I'm not sure if he is. He was the last time I was racing with him. But, you know, you can kind of come in and race under your own best sort of way of doing it. Of course, it doesn't show the racing line on here. We don't know who's running on that. I personally do. So it doesn't really matter, but it's interesting to see as we see some of these guys really struggling in the wet, which is usually when more traction control is getting a bit handsy. Of course, if you're on full traction control, a lot of time it stops you from spinning up your wheels too much, but it seems like it's really struggling here for Callum. He's also braking a bit later, as you see Siam's dropping in and out of connection. So we've still got a second and a bit between these two, but it does feel like as much as Callum Tyler is struggling, he's not struggling as much as Siam. Are we going to see anyone in the pits this lap? We aren't. I'm unsure exactly what's happening with the pit strategies, because I wouldn't be surprised if we see some pitting happening in the next 4 laps if it's going to be wet till the end of the race. These tyres can last 18 laps, so of course we're currently on 14 left of the Grand Prix. So are we going to sit there? But we've also got Optics, who's really chasing down Jonathan Cox here. This could be in a monumental drive from Optics, getting into the top 2, hopefully. Let's see here if he's gaining any more time here. He just seems to have managed to keep his tyres that little bit fresher than Jonathan Cox. He's obviously fallen 4 seconds now behind Joshy. So Optics is within the same sort of range as Callum Tyler. No, Callum Tyler's now within a second. Does seem like there Jonathan Cox has got a better run there of Optics, but he doesn't. We're going to go down to Callum Tyler to see if he can take any more inroads here. Siam goes very wide there. Callum Tyler gets very, very hesitant on the accelerator going through that corner. Let's see, going through the final corner, can he gain even more time going through here? He does get out of sorts, but I don't think enough to really... Oh, there we go. Callum Tyler does seem to really struggle when his tyres get very light through that section there. He has managed to gain a couple of tenths on Siam, so he is now within 7 tenths. Of course, 6 tenths now that he's under braking. We'll see as he gets through this corner exactly how he managed to plant his traction. He does quite well. He is going to be really feeling the downforce difference now as he goes through this corner. He does not want his car feeling too light, as we see there's a yellow flag now in the first sector. At the end of the first sector, that might be... It is. So Optics has had a very big incident there. He's just now lost 6 tenths No, 6 seconds on Jonathan Cox, who he was right behind previously. That's going to be really annoying for him because he's going to have really wanted that position. But if he can chase him down once, he can chase him down again. So Callum Tyler's now within 3/10 of Siam. The race for 5th is now hotting up. Can we see a real good battle between these two? I worry when they get wheel to wheel because it's not the conditions you want to be racing wheel to wheel in. Of course, it has stopped raining. We can now see exactly why these guys didn't want to pit any earlier. As we see, that's a Red Bull who's just completely spun it on the last corner. That's not good for Optics. He was in a very good position there. 15, 17 seconds I think he was ahead of FT. But we're going to go on board now with Callum Tyler. So Optics is now pitted. See him. Oh, it's a safety car. Right, are these guys going to pit for soft compound tyres? We see Optics has gone on to mediums. There is 12 laps left of the race. That can kind of, you know, you can go on to soft compound tyres. I think everyone's pitting for mediums. Apart from FT, who's gone to an old set of soft compound. 6-lap old tyres. He's going to be hitting puncture territory. So puncture territory for softs is about 15 laps. And there's 14 left. No, there's 12 left. I can't add again. So, safety car. Optics is still in 3rd position. He's going to be very happy to still be in 3rd position. He's going to obviously overtake the safety car there as Callum Tyler stops on track. I'm unsure what exactly happened there. Right, so Joshy Boy and Jonathan Cox are going to be hoping they can get in before Optics gets anywhere near him. He's 40 seconds behind. I don't think he's going to. But this is going to now level the playing field. We're going to have a race again, guys. Anyone who has stayed tuned in for this long, I salute you for managing to keep going, because now we've got a race once more. Everyone's now onto dry tyres. Joshy Boy's onto new mediums, so is Jonathan Cox. Optics on new mediums. FT's on very, very old softs, so he's going to be struggling. Callum Tyler on new mediums. See him on new mediums. But I think the biggest winner on all of this is the Extremist, who of course broke his front wing. You see, 5-second penalty for Callum Tyler exceeding track limits. The Extremist is on soft compound tyres, which probably will get to the end of the race, so he's going to be much faster than the guys in front. And he's managed to get now back those 20 seconds that he was behind. He's won. No, he's not won the race, but he's won in terms of benefiting from this. Jonathan Cox is now 15 seconds behind Joshy Boy. I'm unsure what happened through that middle sector, but I think he's just kind of been backing off a little bit. Siam gets ahead of FT and Callum Tyler, who are both in the pits now, I think serving their 5-second penalties. That means I think Extremist may be able to jump them. No, I think they're going to come out ahead of him still. So they managed to pit onto new soft compound tyres. So this bottom 3 now of FT, who is stupidly fast, Callum Tyler, who's been doing very well, and Extremist, who we've seen was very quick around this track. Whether they're going to manage to now overtake the 4 in front of them on mediums, we've got a race in our hands in the last 10 laps. This is going to be epic. Right, let's see if they can catch up though to the safety car pack before the safety car decides to head in. I don't think he's heading in yet. He doesn't seem to be, no. So they've probably got enough time to catch back up. As we see, there's a Ferrari that's stopped on track of Siam. He seems to have struggled there. Maybe even flat spotted his medium compound tyres. Now, if he pits, he probably doesn't have the time to get back towards the top pack. We'll have to wait and see. So I'm going to catch my breath a little bit before we start this final 10 laps. The soft shootout, the sprint race, if you will. Siam hasn't pitted, but he is trying to warm up his tyres. These guys really need to be getting a move on to try and overtake, to try and catch up to the front runners now. But of course, you know, you want to make sure your tyres are warm, especially on those mediums when you've got the likes of FT, Callum Tyler and Extremist right behind you on fast, soft compound tyres. So, let's wait and see, shall we? This is going to be epic. This is genuinely going to be really, really good. They've now caught up behind them. So we've now, I'd say, got a 7-car shootout for the top positions because the guys at the back are on soft compound tyres. So let's have a look at the penalties at the moment. We've got a penalty. I didn't cover it. Got a 5-second penalty for Joshy Boy out front for obviously, I think that's track limits or speeding under the safety car. That's not going to be helping him. He, more than likely, with the guys behind him on soft compound tyres, maybe, I don't want to jinx it, but could be risking his top 3 position, his podium points here for someone who's been leading the race from the get-go, really. As you see, safety cars now in this lap. So he's been leading the race for a while, at least from the last safety car. Maybe not even get a podium? Who can say? He's going to have an amazing start from the likes of Jonathan Cox, Optics, and then FT, Callum Tyler and Extremist right behind. They're going to need an incredible race as we see these guys really backing up on each other. So, top 7 car shootout. I do not want to put any money on who might come out on top. As we see Joshy Boy's really playing games. Let's see if he's going to bolt now. He's not. He now bolts. Let's see. Okay, so Jonathan Cox gets a decent run on him. He's not gaining too much time, but we've got Ziam who's right behind Optics now. He's managed to almost leapfrog him here. He's going to try and go around the outside into the first corner. Let's go on board with Optics. He's not forced too far inside. He doesn't leave the space on the outside, but I think Ziam had backed out by that point. FT's spun it on the first corner, which now means we've got another yellow flag. The Extremist is now into 5th position. That's a shame, because I think FT was going to be the person who was really going to challenge these top guys. So they've managed to keep their positions pretty much as they were before, apart from Extremists managing to get back that on an incredible comeback from 20 seconds behind in like lap 3 to now 5th position and only a second and a half on soft compound tyres, faster tyres than the guy in front. Hats off to you. I mean, you've looked into it because of the safety car, but hats off to you. So, we've now got a battle for 2nd place emerging. Joshy Boy has kind of left them to it. He's going to be wanting to really gain a 5-second gap on these guys. We've got Cam Tyler's got another penalty. I think that's probably a 3-second. Let's just have a quick look. It is a 3-second. So this battle now, we're waiting for DRS to be activated. It'll probably be activated this lap. I know it's activated next lap, isn't it? Lap 3 after the safety car. So, this is what we've been waiting for all race. The soft compound tyres. Optics gets very wide there because of the fact he gets onto the inside curb. As I said, you could be spinning there if you go on there. That might have been what happened to FT. I'm waiting to find out in the Discord exactly what happened there. So, Ziam is only 3/10 behind him. They're now a second and a half behind Jonathan Cox, who's been left to try and catch back up to Joshy. Ziam is just gaining and gaining and gaining on Optics. Meanwhile, we then have Extremist who's now gaining on this pack. Ziam had to back out there to make sure he didn't break his front wing on the front of Optics through a braking zone, I think. So he's now only 2/10 in front of the Extremist, who may be mounting a monumental comeback. So maybe even that car, 2 cars in front, is on the podium. The Irish driver may be going from 20 seconds back in last position to a podium. This could be an incredible comeback. So, Extremist, he's looking up the inside of Ziam here. He's only 2/10 behind. He's going to want a better amount of grip going through this final sector. He's got a nice run going on him here. He's just going to have too much speed. Ziam cannot compete. The Extremist goes way past him. He's just gone by. I am now off. I'm going to try and take out my best mate. I hope they don't take each other out, because I think a podium finish for either of these two guys is a great finish. Ziam obviously left a little bit in the dust there. Obviously, Callum Tyler now on the soft compound as well catching up. Of course, both of them have 5-second penalties, so they may not even finish in the positions they're currently in. But of course, it's worth noting that Extremist is technically on the podium because of that 5-second time penalty, but we don't know what might be happening in terms of overthrowing penalties after the race. So, we have Extremist, 6/10 now off Optics. Optics 3 seconds off Jonathan Cox. Jonathan Cox only 9/10 in the DRS zone now, catching up to Joshy Boy going into the last 6 laps of the race. As he set a purple middle sector, can he now gain... Oh, as Joshy Boy really loses it there, he just can't. He could not activate those medium tyres. He just gets on the outside curb, spins it up too much and just can't help but lose the position there. So now we have Optics now looking at chasing Joshy Boy. I think Jonathan Cox couldn't have been wishing for a better and easier overtake there, but it does give Joshy Boy the opportunity to take him back now with fresh, well, with exactly the same tyres, but with DRS. So we're going to keep an eye on that one. It's only 3/10 now. Callum Tyler's only 2/10 off Seam now. They're going to be catching each other. Of course, Extremis is now outside of a second of Optics, so he's going to be wanting to get back in. Seam goes very wide through that corner there, takes the longer route, but tries to get a bit more traction. I think it's worked for him, but it really could be difficult. I don't know whether Callum Tyler's going to be trying to overtake through this sector. It doesn't look like he is at the moment. Seems very much, both of them actually, are out of ERS, so they can't be using that to their advantage. Is Callum going to look up the inside here? He does, but I don't think he's going to try and get a dive bomb. He's just trying to get better traction. So we now have this battle emerging. Seam just gets a bit too far on the inside, tries to push him out, but DRS now is activated for Callum. As we see Extremist now get past Joshy Boy. I had missed what goes on out front, because this battle for 5th place was very good, but obviously Joshy Boy's had another issue, meaning he's now down to 4th position. So the Extremist is now up onto the podium in 3rd position, with Optics now in 2nd, Joshy Boy in 4th, and now pitting Callum Tyler. That's going to get rid of his 5-second time penalty as well. More importantly, Callum Tyler's up to 4th position now. Seam in 5th, who's now trying to chase down the soft compound runner. Can Extremist get even higher than 3rd position? Can he get 2nd? We'll wait and see. Seam's the closest person on the track at the moment, but FT has caught up to this pack now. He's again on soft compound tyres, but he's pitted once more to go on better soft compound tyres to make sure he's not on, you know, 6-lap old ones. Oh, did he do that in the pit stops actually? I think he did. So now Joshy Boy goes out onto soft compound tyres. I think he's going to be hoping to get fastest lap again. So Seam is still within 3/10 of Callum Tyler, but just in his wing mirrors he will be seeing FT becoming a larger and larger entity. This could get a bit spicy here as we see FT try and claw back the deficit he has to these two drivers out in front. He could get up to 4th, maybe even get even further. That's only a 3-second gap to make from Callum Tyler to the Extremists. Of course, both of these drivers have time penalties. Seam with the 5 seconds and Callum Tyler with the 3, I think it is. Let me just double check again. It is. So FT now is in 6/10 of Seam. Seam has got DRS, so he's only in a bit of a train here, but it does look like Callum Tyler has managed to just spring away a little bit. Can he do the same on this race as we see, this lap as we see him getting a bit out of sorts on the inside? He's having to defend there. FT backs out. Is he going to go on the inside here? He is, just to get better traction. Is he going to get better traction? He needs to make the overtake soon, because these soft compound tyres will not be healthy for very much longer. He wants to get as far away from the medium compound runners as possible to make sure on track he finishes ahead. So Seam now is just managing to keep it a bit cleaner than FT, who's obviously suffering a little bit from dirty air. Seam is now outside of, oh no, he was outside of DRS zone, so he's still going to get it through this zone here, which is not what FT wanted. He's not going to have it anywhere near enough to catch Callum Tyler, but it's enough to keep him out of the grips of the Alfa Romeo driver. As we see, Extremis is now within 1.1 seconds of Optics out in front. We're waiting to see if they can get within DRS range of each other. Seam is still 9/10. It's still enough for him at the moment to stay within DRS range, but FT gets a much better run here. It does not matter if you've got DRS, because soft tyres will be enough for you to get past. Let's see, he does not want to be running onto the curb. Can't think of words today. I'm sort of curb there, as we saw FT get a bit out of sorts before. FT now locks up, but he has obviously made the place stick, which is good news for the soft compound runners. Bad news for Seam, who's fallen all the way down to 6th position. Right, now we're focusing on Callum Tyler in front. Can FT, on same lap old tyres, catch him too? It just shows, though, that you can have an incident going through the first corner which breaks you. I think it was almost 4 or 5 seconds down. He caught up. It just shows you the speed that FT really has going through here. Extremis is now within a second of Optics. He got DRS through that zone. He's gone very deep through there. It's not going to help him through the exit of this corner. Really isn't when you want to be getting that much wheel spin as well. But I think is he going to get DRS through the last? He's not going to get DRS through the final corner. That is not good news for him, but I'll tell you someone who does. FT will have DRS on Callum Tyler going down the start finish straight. Callum Tyler just can do nothing as FT goes to the outside there. As we see, Joshy Boy gets a 3-second time penalty as well. He's 20 seconds behind still. So FT's now way out in front. Well, way out in front. No, FT may now be able to get way out in front. He's obviously a lot faster on these softer tyres, as we see Callum locking up a little bit again. Can he now make up the 4-second gap to Extremist? Will Extremist and Optics' battling allow the Alfa Romeo driver to get back onto the podium, which he was in first place for? I think if you remember, FT was very easily out in first place. He was the one fighting with Joshy Boy and Jonathan Cox when the rain came out, and of course he then disconnected, which meant that he fell back. So we could have FT getting back onto the podium. I don't know if we'll see Joshy Boy back there, but FT wants to be making as many points on both Joshy Boy and also Jonathan Cox, who's currently leading the race, as much as possible, so that he can make sure he stays within the championship sort of winnings trio. So Cam Tyler is still within DRS here. He's done enough really to stay within DRS zone of FT, but it doesn't look like FT is kind of speeding away a little bit. But he's going to do him quite well in terms of his battle with Siam now. Those softer compound tyres, this is important to recognise, they aren't going to be feeling the greatest at this moment in time. Of course, 10 lap old mediums aren't going to feel brilliant either, but we're probably reaching the crossover point as we see a lot of oversteer for Siam there, just like we saw with Callum Tyler, who's now fallen out with a second of Callum Tyler there. Yeah, the tyres that should not be feeling great, so a mistake is both likely, and also especially for the soft compound runners, the mistake on the next lap is even more likely, because 10 lap old soft tyres are not going to be feeling better at all. It's not like in real life where you can get through that first period of graining. It does kind of get a bit, well, worse, putting it lightly. As we see him get out sorts on that corner there, but not as much as Callum Tyler on the exit there. That's going to do wonders for Siam's confidence. He's going to be thinking, you know what, this guy's making mistakes out front. I'm going to get DRS now on this home finish straight. Callum Tyler gets even more out of sorts going on the inside, a bit too much there. He's not going to have enough really to overtake him here going down this home finish straight, but on to the last lap. This is going to be the confidence booster I think that Siam needs to be able to hopefully mount a challenge for 5th position, at least on track, as he tries to go around the outside. He thinks better of it, I think it is, but he gets better traction. He's probably got more speed coming through here now, so we're going through the middle sector. He's going to the inside. Callum Tyler gives him the room. That is very good racing, guys, not to collide there, because it's very easy to lose your way, I think, there, and just think you've got the space, but actually you don't. Callum Tyler stays in front at the moment, but we're about to come up to a DRS zone, and only 4 tenths are in it. So, Siam, Callum Tyler, which one will finish in 5th position here? Callum Tyler gets a bit of a wide exit there, he does get a bit of oversteer, goes a bit wide as well, so we're now into 3-second territory. He's got DRS. Is he going to look on the inside? I think he thinks better of it. He decides not to go into the rear end of Callum Tyler. That does look like we're going to finish it here. We're going to go on board with Jonathan Cox as he finishes the race in 1st position. Optics coming home in 2nd position. That's a great race, but my driver of the day definitely goes to Extremist. He may have come out a bit on luck, but he's got onto the podium on a very, very slim chance, I'd say. Callum Tyler comes home in 5th, Siam in 6th. Joshy Boy coming round the final sector now, who I'd say is a very worthy 7th position. He did an incredible race to manage to stay in the lead. He got an incredible lead on Jonathan Cox. Then the last safety car just kind of screwed him up a little bit. Couldn't get the medium tyres activated, meaning he just lost positions. He then obviously lost a fair few, and I think he had damage. He comes home in 7th position, finishing the runners of today. So thank you to everyone who stuck with it and stayed along. It's been really great to see Optics gets driver of the day on the track. Mine goes to Extremist. It was an incredible race from him to go from last to 3rd, and I know obviously you'll all say, well, he gained 20 seconds because of the safety car, but to go still from back of the grid up to 3rd position, even on softs in 10 laps, is pretty decent. So we see there Jonathan Cox come out on top, Optics in 2nd and Extremist in 3rd. Very worthy podium finishes. I'm very pleased to have seen those guys come out on top. That's an incredible result for Jonathan Cox, who's going to be just extending his lead out in front in the championship now. So that's really good for him. He's going to be hoping to try and finish as many races in 1st position as he can, of course. And there is the final rundown. We'll just go quickly through it. Jonathan Cox, Optics, Extremist, FT, Callum Tyler, Seam, Joshy Boy finishes the final finishers of the race. You then have Broke Gorilla, Super Steve, VRL Smithy, Walker, and Master Lads, who all DNF'd. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you all for joining us. Once again, make sure to subscribe. Check the link down below for the charity stuff. Keep an eye out for any more streams. We will be streaming probably every day to make sure to look out for that. I've been Nat Craig. You've been you. Thank you very much.